I now want to introduce our final speaker of the day, Aparna Shukla. Aparna has been with us before. She is a certified mindfulness, MBSR and yoga teacher. She's also a midwife with a master's degree in obstetrical nursing. And she has trained midwives and public health nurses in Ireland to provide antenatal classes and use mindfulness at work. And she's co-authored training modules for midwifery practices for UNICEF. She has vast experience in working with the nursing and midwifery education, healthcare of Ireland and India, along with her expertise as an MBSR and yoga teacher. This puts her in the best position to combine ancient wisdom with scientific evidence-based knowledge to facilitate mindfulness-related education programs for parents, health professionals, and the general public. Thanks, Aparna.
Thank you, Hazel. I will start this mindfulness session, and I promise I won't take long because I realize that we are running out of time already. So I will start with a quote by R.T. Bennett. Attitude is a choice. Happiness is a choice. Optimism is a choice. Kindness is a choice. Giving is a choice. Respect is a choice. Whatever choice you make makes you. So choose wisely. And the basic mantra of mindfulness is that if you want to be happy, then don't spend time dwelling in the past. Don't worry about the future, and live in here and now, which is the present moment. As we say that past is a history, future is a mystery, and this present moment is the only moment which is a gift for you. Present is a gift. So my name is Aparna Shukla, and Hazel has already given my introduction, but I want to highlight that I'm one of you. I'm also a telephone triage nurse and a midwife, and that's my profession. And my passion is certainly mindfulness and yoga. So I have been facilitating a lot of mindfulness related workshops and training programs and yoga classes for INMO professional for last number of years. So let's talk about the nurses telephone triage. So in my today's presentation, the first 10 minutes I will be just talking about and leading you through a short meditation of breath awareness and 3-step self-compassion break. And these two meditations are like the practices in your pocket that you can carry and use them whenever you need. And in the last 10 minutes of my presentation, I will make a case that how you can apply these mindfulness practices as a telephone triage nurse and use them in your day-to-day work. So let's talk about the Ireland's GP practice that has been used since 1999 through general cooperatives that since 1999 in Ireland, we have been using telephone triage to help GPs with their work. So basically, we as telephone triage nurses are reducing the workload of GPs and without increasing any adverse effect for the patients. And that's why they trust us to carry out this telephone triage. And it's basically sorting out. So triage is sorting out who needs urgent care, who needs routine care, who needs an emergency services, and we either call 999 for them or we ask the patient to call 999. But mindfulness is no different. Mindfulness is like a triage service for your mind. So you can apply mindfulness to triage your thoughts and emotions, which means once you have practiced regular meditation or regular mindfulness practice, that means your mind will know that this is a junk thought and it should not enter in the main field of the mind, and it will already bin it. So, you know, in your inbox, there is a limited space, and that's why we have a spam folder. So if you have mindfulness practice, a lot of junk thoughts will go straight into spam folder. They will not enter in your attention field because they're not necessary. They're not needed. So basically a human mind can create up to 50 to 80,000 thoughts every day. And many of them are just simply repeated same thoughts, which are unnecessary. So I'm going to ask you to sit comfortably and please participate, because mindfulness is experiential. Even if I talk all day, it will be of no benefit to you. But if you do it, you will experience and learn through your own body and through your own mind. In mindfulness, we believe that the best teacher is inside you. So let's start by sitting in a dignified posture with your spine straight, 2 feet on the ground. So if you have your legs crossed, then put the 2 feet on the ground. And just take a moment to either close your eyes or simply lower your gaze. And please do participate fully in this practice without any distraction. Now start to bring your attention fully to your out breath. Just focus only on out breath. Notice the breath leaving the nostril and continue to notice the out breath. And the mind might start to wander already, but that's okay, that's normal. That's what minds do. So bringing attention again to the out breath. Now bring your attention to a little gap, slight pause at the end of the out breath. So you might notice when you breathe out, there is a tiny little pause before it becomes in-breath. So can you bring your attention to that tiny pause at the end of the out-breath? Now observe the in-breath. Notice the breath rolling in. Continue to observe your in-breath. Now bring your attention to that point where the in-breath becomes the out-breath again. So noticing that point where in-breath turns into out-breath. Now count up to 10 for the full cycle of in-breath and out-breath. If the mind starts to wander, just bring it gently back to the breath, coming in and going out, rolling in and rolling out. Now I want you to notice that little anchor point of the breath. Anchor point is a point where in your body you feel the breath most. It can be in your nose, inside the nostril. It can be in your throat. It can be in your chest. It can be in your abdomen. Some people can even feel breath in their back if they have done a lot of practice. So just notice your own anchor point. There's no right or wrong. Where do you feel the breath most? And now I'm going to lead you to this practice called the 3-step self-compassion break. We as telephone triage nurses are the silent contributor to the health services. Not many people talk about us, not many people realize our contribution to the health services. But during COVID, we have also been working very hard, even though we are not inside the hospital. So practicing self-compassion makes sense. And self-compassion is not easy for many people because our society and our profession just ask us to be compassionate towards others. Nobody ever asked us to practice self-compassion and to be compassionate towards ourselves, to be kind to ourselves. So take this time now to practice self-compassion, because we are all born with this innate capacity to be self-compassionate. But like anything, it is available in your brain, but it hasn't been activated yet. So hopefully we will activate it today and you will be able to use it whenever you need. And with that, we will be building new neural pathways in the brain so that we can practice more self-compassion. So we will begin by coming to the present moment, deliberately placing our 2 feet on the ground, keeping the spine straight and bringing our head in the center of the shoulders, and just bringing a little gentle smile on the face and congratulating yourself for taking this time and staying until the end to practice mindfulness. So imagine an inner mountain and experience this stability of the inner mountain that is available inside you. And have this awareness of this body breathing in the present moment, breathing in, breathing out. Such a simple thing. But can we do it without thinking anything else? So breathing in, breathing out. And now for the purpose of this practice, I want you to bring to the mind a difficulty or a pain that you are experiencing right now. Any situation in life that has just suddenly come up, or any health issue, any pain that you are experiencing. Maybe don't choose very difficult topic. For this practice, we will choose something moderate. And try and think in detail about this difficulty. What kind of thoughts are going on in the head in relation to this difficulty or pain? What's your emotional reaction? What kind of emotions are going on? Is there sadness? Is there kind of a lot of worry? Without judging, just noticing what kind of thoughts or emotions are going on. So in step 1, accepting that this is a moment of difficulty. So becoming fully aware of the thoughts and emotions and acknowledging that, yes, it is very painful. So in a gentle voice, imagine that you are sitting in front of you and talk to yourself as you would talk to a friend and say, this is really painful. this really hurts. I'm having this difficulty and I'm really struggling with it right now. This is so stressful. And if the mind starts to wander, just bringing it gently back to talking to yourself and accepting this moment of difficulty. This leads us to the next step of realizing that suffering is part of life. Reminding ourselves that difficulties are part of being human. We are all human and we all experience our share of difficulties. And that's our shared humanity. So again, choosing to say the words to yourself, it's okay. I'm not alone. Other people struggle too. And we all have to go through difficulties sometimes. It's part of life to have challenges. And it is what makes us human. And taking a deep breath and moving on to the next and final step of self-compassion practice. May I be kind to myself. So finding a way to provide a soothing touch to yourself. Now imagine the image that was sitting right in front of you. Now that image and you have become one. So placing your hand on your heart, or if it suits more to you, then maybe giving yourself a very gentle hug. So hugging yourself, feeling your own touch, or simply placing a hand on the heart, showing kindness to yourself and saying, I will be okay. Everything will be all right. I'm here for you. We will get through this. Or perhaps saying more of these phrases so you can repeat with me. May I have strength to go through this. May I be kind to myself through these difficult times. May I have peace in my heart. May I have patience. May I accept myself the way I am. And then slowly bringing your hand back on your lap and gently returning to your breath and noticing the breath in and out. And coming back to this body, sitting here and gently closing this practice of 3-step self-compassion break. And in mindfulness, sometimes we can spend even an hour sitting in silence, but you know that we have limited time. So I'm going to quickly share my slides just to give you some practical tips as to how you can apply this practice into your telephone triage nurse role. Thank you very much. So coming on to our role as a telephone triage nurse, can we, I'll very quickly move through these slides so we don't need to stay for long on one slide. So in terms of technology, we have come a long way from using this type of communication to having a very high tech sophisticated softwares for using the role of a telephone triage nurse. But what about the most sophisticated computer that is here, brain and mind? What have we done about that? Maybe we are going a little bit backward on that. So yeah, keep moving the slides, please. So mindfulness in general practice, this is actually a paper which is named as, titled as Avoiding Burnout in Nursing Through Mindfulness. And this is based on general practice. So this is a very relevant study for our purpose. So in April 2013, there was a survey done on the stress levels and interest and knowledge in mindfulness for Ireland's GP practice services in the South region, and 200 GPs participated in this survey, but out of that 64% responded, and these were the findings that a significant proportion of GPs experienced high level of stress which were beyond their level of coping that they could comfortably cope. More than 77% GPs said that they were interested in attending a mindfulness course. And only 71% had heard of mindfulness, but only 9% of GPs surveyed said that they had actually used mindfulness themselves for their own well-being. And just over 64% were not aware of the ICGP endorsed course. So that is not a problem for us, because now INMO professional is providing a lot of certified courses for mindfulness and MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction 8-week course. So mindfulness fits really well for nurses in general practice and for us as a out-of-hours telephone triage nurses. And we can use this to improve the quality of our own well-being, and in turn, even if you don't want, but if you are in a good mood, your patients are certainly going to benefit. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. Next slide, please. So one of the challenges that we face as telephone triage nurses is difficult callers. So managing difficult callers is hard, but we must remain calm in those difficult situations. And that can help to diffuse a difficult call. How do we do that? By practicing what we just did there, a self-compassion practice. But it might not be that you can close your eyes and sit for that long, but maybe just having a quick self-talk and accepting that, yes, it is a difficult call. So once you are practicing self-compassion, you may have a compassion for the caller who is angry sometimes for no reason. And you might start to feel actually sorry for them that they are so angry. And avoid stereotyping. We all actually call them repeat offenders. So there are certain clients who call us again and again. But how about having this fresh perspective each time they call? They might not be calling for the same reason. They might not be in that same mindset or same type of mental health situation. And we need to listen attentively. So as a telephone triage nurse, the only tool that is available to us is our ears and our mouth. So we can do either talking or we can do listening. So how about balancing both? Active listening and then talking. So sometime as a telephone triage nurse, we have a lot of pressure that we want to complete our calls in a very short time frame. So we don't get enough time to give it to the patients. But if you spend the first 1 or 2 minutes actively listening before jumping on to triage, it might actually give you a clue of why patient is calling and what is their problem. So according to triage logic, they suggest 3 simple step model, which is listen, relate, and propose an action plan. So we can follow that. And on the next slide, we will define Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who is a father of mindfulness. He defines mindfulness as paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. This is a huge act of kindness in itself. When you are simply sitting there with no other agenda, but to just meet and greet yourself. There is a reason why organizations like Google, Microsoft, and all the big corporate companies are using mindfulness. And actually, in 1999, before pandemic, our Irish parliamentarians were given a big, long training on mindfulness in their Leinster House. So it is definitely useful. It has been proven by many researchers. So we as nurses must take advantage of this particular skill, which can be good for our own mental well-being. Next slide. So automatic pilot mode versus awareness. In mindfulness, we call it automatic pilot mode, where the mind is like a mad monkey jumping onto past, jumping onto future. It just doesn't know how to sit down or relax, or there is no pause in between the thoughts. So one thought leads to the next, to the next, to the next, and the cycle keeps going on. And no wonder we feel so exhausted by the end of the day. So this continual doing mode can rob us of our potential for really living our lives moment by moment, because our power lies in the present moment. We can't go in the past and change anything. We can't be in future to produce something, but we can do that in here and now. So we do that by making ordinary tasks extraordinary. It might sound funny, but your day-to-day meal, how you eat that can have a huge impact on your quality of life. So mindful eating, paying every day some attention to your breath, and body scan meditation. So we learn to wake up to the automatic pilot and change the mode of mind to awareness. And we bring a beginner's mind, which is a mind that knows how to have a fresh perspective each time, with curiosity, with openness, with acceptance, and with kindness. And there are 8 attitudinal qualities of mindfulness, so we can certainly apply them in our practice. Non-judging, don't judge your clients. So your patients are all equal for you. So do not judge them for being too demanding or repeatedly calling. And then patience. So having a patience, don't fill every moment. So in between the 2 calls, if you get a little bit of time, then don't start looking at your phone or try to kind of do something else. Sometimes just take 1 moment to take a breath in and out, or maybe close your eyes for 1 moment. And that will have a huge impact. Beginner's mind is a mind that is willing to see everything as if it is for the first time. And trust that everything will work out. And non-striving is an act of non-doing. Sometimes your patients actually know what is wrong with them. They also know what is the next step. They're only calling you because you are their source to the next step. So we don't always have to do something for them. It's just non-striving may be helpful. Acceptance is a precondition for healing. So accepting the diagnosis for ourselves, whatever is the diagnosis or problem or difficulty or health issue, and then we can ask our patients to have the same attitude and letting go. So everything arises and passes. One of the fundamental principles is that everything is impermanent, and self-compassion and kindness. And we are coming very close to the end of this presentation. So turning towards symptom. So one of the basic principle of mindfulness is not running away. So if there is a diagnosis, if there is a pain, unlike other streams, we don't say that, oh, have a cup of tea or watch a TV, go and meet a friend and it will be okay. No, in mindfulness, we say, if you have a pain, face the pain, look into the eye of the pain and your pain will talk to you. Your pain will give you some very important message. And that message will only come from your own body, from your own mind. So not always just listening to others, but listening to this beautiful body and mind and turning towards symptom rather than running away from symptoms. And that's what will give us capacity to work with it. And the next slide. So we will learn to activate our parasympathetic nervous system by simply breathing in, breathing out. And this will keep us more in rest and digest mode rather than fight and flight response all the time. So as a result, we will be calm telephone triage nurses, and our patients will certainly experience this calmness from you. So we will build the new neural pathways. Next slide. So neuroplasticity is when we make changes in our physical brain shape and structure. So this was not known until about 10-15 years ago. So when neuroscientists made this discovery that on the basis of what we do and what we don't do, we can actually change the shape of the brain. And we build new neural pathways, we build new habits, and that will only come through your own regular mindfulness practice. So neurons that fire together, they wire together, and they make new neural pathways. And you have an attitude of I can and I will, rather than it's very hard, I don't want to do it. And with this, I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, especially Hazel, chairperson of telephone triage section. And sorry, I wasn't finished actually with my slides, but it's okay if you have ended. So I was going to say that we have this pre-Christmas wellness retreat. Pre-Christmas wellness retreat is happening on 15th of December. And for INMO members, it is free of charge. And it will be 3 hours long. And it is online, so you can join from wherever you are. We have limited spaces, so you can book your place now, because it will be very useful for Christmas coming. And the last slide, please. So thank you so much for joining me for this presentation. This is me sitting in my front garden meditating and hoping that the world will be a peaceful place to live for us all now that we are coming to this post-pandemic period. Thank you so much, Hazel, and thank you, Jean, and thank you everyone who is involved in organizing this webinar. And I've learned a lot. I have listened to all the speakers and they were all wonderful. Namaste.